Brook, thank you so much for coming on The 15-Minute Founder. I want to start right away by diving in with a tweet I saw of yours, which I loved. The tweet was, accomplishing goals is never that exciting. It's all about the chase. To accomplish anything, you're forced to become the type of person capable of accomplishing whatever it is. After you've undergone the necessary transformation, accomplishing the goal is standard and to be expected due to the type of person you've become. Can you unpack that for me and actually tie it to the goal you're chasing now?
Yeah, I think anytime you set a goal, just by the nature of setting a goal, it's probably going to be something that seems outstanding to you. Or why would you set it? At the time you're setting it, it's going to seem something very good that you likely haven't accomplished before to that level. So it seems like this thing that's almost in the distance that is separate from you. Now, to ever accomplish that goal, the version of you who set it is going to have to change into a different person. Because if you were already the person who could accomplish that goal, why wouldn't you have already done it, right? So you're going to have to undergo personal transformation. It might be habits, how you spend your time, the people you spend your time with. So then by the time that when you set this big goal, you then have to start actually going to work daily to achieve it. So once you start going to work daily to achieve it and you change your habits, you change the type of person you are, when you actually hit it, it's no longer exciting because it's like, oh, like I'm now the person who has these habits. This is just what I would expect. You know what I mean? So if let's say, I always think fitness is a good example to use for this stuff. So if you wanted to lose 50 pounds, let's say, and then it seems like this amazing, huge thing, but then let's say for the next 200 days, you walk 15,000 steps, you go to the gym every day and you eat perfectly. When you do that for 200 days, you're not going to be shocked that you lost the 50 pounds because you did everything in the meantime to accomplish the goal. So I think that applies not only to fitness, but to business and to personal goals as well.
I love that. The outcome is effectively an extension of the habit. It's guaranteed versus something which felt vague or a figment of your imagination when starting.
Exactly. And I think when a lot of people set goals, it might be a financial goal. I want to save this much money, or I want to get my business to this revenue number. The goal itself isn't actionable. Like say if your goal is to hit your first 8-figure year, your first 10 million year, that's not really actionable. It's like, okay, what are the inputs to get that? How many customers am I doing to visit my website? What conversion rate do I need out of those customers? What does my average customer lifetime value need to be? Because then when we break it down, the big goal into these daily actions that we can actually strive to hit, it's much more actionable. Then I can figure out, okay, I need this many visitors. What do I need to do to get that many people to my website? What do I need to do to increase my conversion rate? What other offerings do I need to have to increase my lifetime value? So I think like having these bigger goals, but then taking that big goal and then breaking it down into things you can take action on every day is actually how you accomplish anything big and worthwhile.
I love that. Something you said, it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from James Clear, where he says, all outcomes are lagging measures of inputs. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your diet or sleep habits. Your inputs determine your outcomes. I know you're working on, I guess, several businesses now, high ticket e-commerce and Supplier HQ. Could you actually tell me what are your goals for those businesses now? And actually maybe taking a step back, what do the businesses do? But I would love to apply that framework. What are the goals? And then what does the daily action look like to get to those goals today?
Yeah, great question. So I've been an entrepreneur for about 2.5 years now. So 2.5 years ago, I started what's called a high ticket e-commerce store, which at a very simple level is just we want to sell high ticket products online. So instead of selling a fidget spinner from China or instead of selling a supplement, I sell $8,000 saunas or $10,000 massage chairs. So we can make much more profit per order. So I started a store doing that 2.5 years ago, largely drop shipping. So I would partner with the best brands in the US. I would list their products on my store, and then I would market their products, and I would get a cut, 25 to 40% usually cut. So I was doing, and there was no real good education program on this. And at this time when I started my business, I had zero personal brand. I had like 3 Instagram posts, no following whatsoever. So I started sharing my story on my social media, which obviously led to floods of people DMing me for advice. I took on a couple of one-on-one clients and quickly found that that's not a scalable business at all. So then that led to the creation of the education company, which is high ticket e-commerce, where we teach across 2 offers. We have like a group coaching offer and a more one-on-one focused offer. And throughout that company, that actually led to the birth of Supplier HQ, because the number one problem that our students were having is they could not find a way to easily find suppliers, and they could not find a way to easily partner with suppliers. So then essentially Supplier HQ just stemmed from the number one bottleneck our students in the education program were facing. And that's also what led to our partnership with Doula. We solved the supplier problem. The next problem was people, they join the program and they're intimidated. Oh, I have to set up a business. What does this look like? And then they stop. They don't even start doing the program. So essentially we're looking at our customer journey in the education program. We're seeing every bottleneck they face, what's stopping them. And then we're either creating our own company, like Supplier HQ, to solve that, or we're partnering with a company like Doula, who makes it as easy as possible for them to get through that bottleneck. So I envision Supplier HQ and high ticket e-commerce are both separate companies. There's the education and there's the software, but I think there's really endless things we can do. We can create Shopify apps that solve problems for our customers' websites. I'm now launching my own sauna brand. So no longer am I just drop shipping. I'm gonna have my own sauna brand that I'm actually going to let some of our students sell. So there's really a lot of things we can do with this. We have the education, and then we can actually have our own high ticket brands. And as a drop shipper myself, when I got started, I know exactly what the best brands are to work with. For example, if you're working with a brand and you're drop shipping their products and they're taking days to reply on emails, if they're taking weeks to ship your orders, if they're not communicating with you, it's a huge pain. So when we create our own brands and we partner with students, we're gonna have our own dedicated Slack channel that will just automatically zap in orders, that they can communicate with us very easily. We're gonna give them good margins, like 35, 40%, so they have good room to actually advertise and grow our brands. So we have the education, but then stemming from that, we can create our own e-commerce brands, we can create softwares like Supplier HQ, we can create apps. So I think this can really be a big ecosystem that's very integrated, and I think we can get that to 9 figures, 100 million in the next couple of years.
One question I have is, can you actually define drop shipping? What is drop shipping? Sometimes I feel like it gets a negative stigma, or there's a stereotype around, oh, it's this product or quality, or maybe poor quality product that's coming from abroad and you're ordering it and you end up with something in a box which doesn't look like what it looked like online.
Yeah, so you're completely right. A lot of people, when they think drop shipping, they think junk product coming from China with 5-week shipping times that's added, like it's 20 times the cost of what the person paid. But at its core level, dropshipping is just a model of fulfillment. So it just means that the seller, the person you're buying from, is not the one who has it in their warehouse. So if you go to a website and you buy a product, then the order is just going to be shipped from a different warehouse that's owned by a different company to you. So essentially, it's in a way affiliate marketing. In a sense, like the store is the affiliate for the brand at a very simple level. But this is prevalent in a lot more cases than people might think. Like most orders on Amazon are dropship. Even if you go to Walmart online or Best Buy online, they're not stocking those products. They're in whatever brand's warehouse they are, and they're just shipping them to you. Same with Home Depot. So it's a lot more common than people think. But essentially, it just makes it easier for both parties. So rather than the brand having to worry about marketing, or having to worry about customer service, they can literally just focus on making an excellent product and shipping it, and then the sellers do the marketing, do the customer service, and they look after the whole customer experience. So then both parties can be very specialized at very specific things, which benefits both.
That was a great explanation. Now I know why people get your course. Question I have here. So something you've mentioned a few times, which I really like, is you've said the word problem and solving problems multiple times. You also said you've been an entrepreneur for several years, and maybe this isn't the first thing you've done. Could you rewind? Were you born an entrepreneur? What does that mean? Do you think people are born entrepreneurs? If you could take me back to just the full journey, how did it actually start? And for you personally, what led to that first business, deciding I actually want to start a business?
So I wouldn't say a born entrepreneur in the sense that my parents weren't entrepreneurs. I don't come from like a wealthy family, very middle class from a small town in Canada. Both my parents lived in the small town their whole lives. They still live there to this day. So I think the one thing that kind of changed things for me is I played professional hockey growing up. So I left home at 15 years old to go play pro hockey. And then that kind of that got me out of my hometown. I was exposed to different people, different places, different cities, and I started to kind of think bigger, see the world differently than I would have if I was just stuck in my little town. So that was kind of the first step out. I played hockey at a high level, and then I had concussions put into my hockey career. So I was a very good hockey player. So then that was my whole identity. For the first 20 years of my life, I was just hockey, hockey, hockey. And then it was just gone like that. So then I went through, I would say, like the roughest phase of my life where I was partying too much at school, and I didn't really have a purpose. I didn't have anything I was working towards like I was with hockey. So then I set the goal to essentially just start doing well in school. And that led to me going to law school. But at the time when I was going through law school and I started taking school more seriously, what led to me being more serious about school was just kind of getting into personal development overall. So I started reading books. I started listening to podcasts. I'm not sure if you've heard of Andy Frisella, MFCEO Project it was called. So I started listening to that. I started reading books like Atomic Habits, James Clear you mentioned. So I started getting into this space, and I took all the things that I was doing, the habit creation, the personal development, and that led to me doing very well in school, getting on the law school dean's list, getting all like academically. But I just knew inside that I wanted to do entrepreneurship. I just didn't know where to start. So I had no idea how to actually get started. And it led to like 3 or 4 years of me just pursuing this path of law school that I knew the whole time in my gut wasn't right. And I just needed a starting point. So I ended up listening to a podcast on a guy who was doing the model that I described, so the high ticket dropshipping model. And that was kind of just what got me started. And then ever from there, it's just been kind of an evolution. I think that I 100% am an entrepreneur at heart. And to answer that question as to what it means in problems, I think you have to start first. Like the first thing you have to do is just get started with something. And then once you start, you will then experience problems as an entrepreneur that are great problems to solve with new businesses. So your company, for example, business in a box. So many people want to start businesses. They don't know how to get started. They have to get their EIN. They don't know what that is. They need to register agent. They don't know what that is. So then you now are effectively solving that problem for people. And I don't know how you got the idea. Was it something that you came across and you thought like, this is a problem that isn't solved right now and I have to do it? Or I don't know exactly how you did that, but that would be how I would imagine is the best way to think of business ideas, just problems you experience yourself.
We spent $30,000 on lawyers the first time around. Second time thought, do we really have to do that? Then we were a bit naive thinking, okay, why can't we just do it all? Form the company, set up a payment stack and do taxes. A lot of that is paperwork you could automate. Sometimes being naive, I think, is good because you don't say, oh, it's always been done this way. Why can't we change it? But I love what you said there. Solving your own problem means sample size n equals 1. There's one person who solves who has that problem. Solve it for that person. Can you find one other person? Then 10 more. If you can find 10, I think you can find 100, and so on and so on. Something which I like to ask people is, there was a study done that shows that at any point in your life, typically one of these 4 things is the main driver of your decisions. Now, it's not the only driver, but typically it's the main driver at this stage in your life for your actions. And the 4 things are money, fame, power, or pleasure. At this stage in your life, Brook of today, which of those 4 would you say is the main driver for you right now? And the easiest way sometimes to answer this question is to do it deductively, knock out the ones which don't fit. But today, what is the main driver? Is it money, fame, power, or pleasure?
It's definitely not fame. I think it's a mix between, I think a lot of them are one and the same. So what I mean by that is pleasure to me is being able to have kids and a family, not having to worry about money. I can have kids comfortably knowing our family is financially set. So I think for me, it's just having the power to control my life, live life on my own terms. But I think that power comes through making money. And then I think having the power to control your own life, to live on your own terms is ultimately what I would get pleasure from. So I think they're very interrelated things. But I think at the end of the day, becoming as financially free as you can to live life in your own terms gives you power, and power in turn gives you pleasure.
I like that a lot. I think that wasn't a cop-out answer. You actually answered that really well. You connected the two. You mentioned something else, which was the biggest thing is just getting started. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes there could be admin hurdles that people freeze up over. Oh, I don't know how to start a company. I don't know taxes. There could be education hurdles. I think you're solving that with some of your businesses too. The information's out there. The podcasts are out there. The guides are out there. Oftentimes, I know a lot of people who've read those guides. They consume that content. You're educating folks. You're teaching folks. For the folks who couldn't get started and finally did, what gets them over that hump, and why do you actually think it's so hard to take that initial plunge?
I think now in today's world, it's information overload. There's so many different businesses you can start. There's so many different people you can listen to. There's just an endless bombardment of advice and free information that people get overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. And I was one of these people. So I would listen to all the podcasts. I would read all the books, and I would never actually take action on any of it. And I think it's a bit like analysis paralysis. So like if you're going skydiving, you're on the edge of the plane looking out and you can't jump. But then once you jump, it's all going to be fine. You're going to have a blast, but it's just making that first jump. Like it's the hardest part for most people. And I think it's very important. Like the way we structure our programs now is like just getting them to do that as easy as we can. So you need your business set up. Okay, don't worry. We're going to look after that for you. You need your Shopify store set up. Oh, don't worry. We're going to look after that for you. Just pick a product and just make things as easy as we possibly can for people. And I think on a personal level, like you ultimately just have to accept that it's never going to be the perfect time, no matter what. Like if you're looking at different business models and different things, what's more important than picking the perfect business model or even the perfect product to sell or the perfect software to create is just starting something. Anything. Just knowing that taking the first step is more important than picking the perfect thing. Because when you take the first step, then there's going to be like essentially you're walking through the first door. And then when you walk through the first door, there's going to be 10 more doors that you can choose to walk through. But to ever see those 10 doors, you first have to step through the first door. So I think just knowing the importance of starting something, even if it doesn't feel right, even if you don't feel comfortable, the importance of just taking that first step and starting to take action is the most important thing.
Do you have critics or naysayers? Has it been everyone supporting you along the way? How do you deal with that if so?
Honestly, I haven't had a ton. Like my family, I guess I left home very early at 15. So I moved back home during the pandemic during law school just because we weren't in person at school. And I told my parents I was going to drop out of law school to do business. They said I was crazy. But at the time, I had already been out of home for 10 years. So I was very independent from a young age. So I definitely did have naysayers, people that doubted me, but I wouldn't say I was like really ever about to like listen to it or let it affect my decision making.
I do want to ask now, provide a bit of free alpha for the folks listening. You online, I believe, have a 54-page guide which explains how you went from 0 to 4 million in 1 year with high-ticket e-commerce. Can you give a 54-second overview of how you actually did that?
Yeah. So like we were just talking about, I got started when I wasn't comfortable. I started a few different stores selling low price stuff, failed miserably. I ended up starting a higher price store selling furniture. Furniture wasn't working, so I thought, okay, what can I add to my store that's like furniture, but it's not furniture, just like a different niche. So then I started selling saunas, and right away. So I went from pretty much zero to like 200, 300K a month right away, selling a very well-known brand of saunas called Clear Light Saunas. So it's the biggest infrared sauna brand. So they were a brand I got to partner with, and then my store just kind of took off from there. And then it just became obsessing about different aspects of the business. How can I make my website convert as much as I can? How can I run my Google Ads as effectively as possible? And then just focusing on all these different things really just led me to scale it quite quickly. And I think I don't want to say lucky, but I got my whole time. The best supplier I ever worked with was the first one I made my first sale with. But I wouldn't have ever got lucky without putting in the effort and taking that risk and trying all those other different stores to get to that point.
100%. I believe the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Exactly,
And what you said in terms of taking that first step, you're actually entering the arena. You're making it likely that you can get struck by lightning versus just staying in your house. You're going out with that 20-foot metal pole, and the odds might go up slightly, but the odds are still much greater than if you're just sitting inside, and closed mouths don't get fed at the end of the day.
Exactly.
I am a big believer that when it comes to work and when it comes to health, you sharpen your body to sharpen your mind. That means the two go hand in hand. You don't just exercise for the benefits you get during the 1 hour of exercise. You do it for the other 23. And the same thing applies when it comes to sleep. You don't just do sleep for the benefits you get during the 8 hours. You do it for the person you are during the other 16. And that's why I don't view things like investing in the right bed or investing in my health as expenses. I view them as investments. And the 8 sleep bed is one of the best investments I have made. I gotta ask you just about some of the systems you use to maintain yourself. It is a long-term game as an entrepreneur. Let's start from the beginning. What does your morning routine or the first 15 minutes of your day look like?
So when I was in law school, I had a crazy routine. And I think this crazy routine was born out of the fact that I knew I wanted to do business, but I wasn't doing it. So I needed to control something. So I would wake up, I would write all my goals out, I would meditate for a certain amount of time, I would read a certain amount of pages. And by the time I got to actually work on studying, an hour or 2 hours had passed. So I think that was born out of a need to just control something in my life because I knew that I was supposed to be doing business and I wasn't doing it. Ever since I've started doing business, I don't really have a morning routine. So I wake up without an alarm, because I think sleep's very important. So I think just waking up naturally, I feel 100 times better. So I wake up without an alarm, I just go to my desk and start working. That's effectively my morning routine now.
Wake up and work.
Yeah, exactly. Get the highest leverage things, the most important things out of the way as soon as I wake up.
What do you do in terms of your systems for exercise during a week or during a day?
So my thoughts have changed on this. So I think if you asked me this like 2 years ago, I would have said that like the more you do fitness and the more you stay on top of this stuff, the better you're going to perform in business. And I think there's an aspect to that. But I also think during certain phases of your business, so when you first launch and you're in that tough building phase, when it might just be you and a few other people, I think it's very important to eat healthy and to be active. But I don't think you necessarily need to be going for an hour and a half walk every day and going to the gym for an hour and a half every day, because that's 3 hours of time gone. And not only is it 3 hours of time gone, when I'm done working out, I'm exhausted. It's very hard for me to sit down and do high quality work. So maybe during that season of your life when you're in this deep building phase, maybe instead of walking an hour and a half a day, maybe you go for 3 walks a week. Maybe you do 2 or 3 workouts a week to maintain where you're at physically, to keep your strength. You're still eating very healthy so you feel good, but maybe you have to reprioritize. And maybe, like you said before, like almost when there's certain aspects of your life or seasons of your life where things might be more important. Maybe it's family, maybe it's building your business, maybe it's your health. So I think when you're first building in that first phase, I think you really have to be as all in as you can on your business while not letting your health suffer.
When I say the term work-life balance, what does that mean to you? Do you believe in work-life balance?
I don't at all. So my life is my work, essentially. Like there's not a minute of the day I'm not thinking about my business or how to improve something. As an entrepreneur, I think it's very hard to separate the two. And I think if you want to separate the two, then maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, in a sense. I think there's time when you get older, when you have your family and kids, you definitely want to make time for those things as well. But I think like I said before, in the building phase, you kind of have to be all in to get to that first step, to kind of make those first initial checkpoints in your life.
I was going to ask you one of my favorite questions, the contrarian question. What's an important truth that few people agree with you on? What you just said there might be one. Is there another one? Is there something an opinion you hold or something you believe that many people don't see eye to eye to you on?
Yeah, I think just the concept of risk. Like I think most people would say starting a business is risky. That would be probably a commonly held opinion. But I think you have to redefine what risk means. So if you go work a job that you know you aren't happy with for 30 or 40 years, you wake up at 70, 80 years old and you knew your whole life you're supposed to start a business and then it's too late, that's risky to me. Like that's a lot bigger risk than like I think a lot of people think the worst case is a lot worse than it actually is. If you start a business and it doesn't go well, what's the worst thing that happens? Probably maybe you have to move back in with your parents. Maybe you get a job driving Uber Eats or something like that. That's the worst thing that can happen. So why not at least try? If you know you're supposed to try in your gut, why not try? If you're happy with your job, if you know that if you love law school and you are excited about being a lawyer, then that's probably your purpose. But if you have some gnawing feeling inside for you to do something, I would say that that's there for a reason. And I think the riskiest thing you can do in your life is not listen to that feeling.
I love that. Don't ignore that inner voice.
Exactly.
When it comes to someone, and I know many people, I actually fundamentally believe that everyone has some entrepreneurial itch inside them.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't actually mean you have to quit everything, invest your life savings into starting. You could solve that itch or scratch that itch within your existing company and working on a project. You could work on a side hustle outside your 9 to 5 during your 5 to 9. There's ways to scratch that itch. What do you think about someone scratching that itch within e-commerce specifically? Do you think dropshipping is a way to do that with controlled downsides and maybe asymmetric upside in terms of the learnings and the revenue opportunity?
I really think it is because there is not really a downside. With dropshipping, you don't have to pay any money for inventory. You don't have to make a huge investment. So there's not really any risk. And there are high ticket dropshipping stores doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So I think high ticket dropshipping specifically, you have virtually no risk, but you have, like you said, asymmetric upside. Do I think every person needs to do e-commerce? I would say probably not. Maybe their itch is writing. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's any sort of creative pursuit. I think the very core, any business or entrepreneurship, like there's a creative pursuit within that. So for me with e-commerce, like I don't care whether I'm selling salon chairs or if I'm selling saunas. I do like fitness, so I enjoy selling saunas, but I could sell something else and still enjoy it because it's the marketing that I like. It's the marketing, it's the funnel creation, it's creating those flywheels that I kind of obsess over and what I truly enjoy internally. But I think the end product, if you like it, great, but I don't think it needs to necessarily be something that you absolutely love to be passionate about just business in general.
When people say follow your passion, do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I think you have to kind of create your passion. I don't think your passion is something that you just comes to you one day. I think it's following that itch, that gut feeling. I think if you listen to that, you will find your passion. So I think, for example, many people might be passionate about fitness, but if they never work out, they're never going to find it, right? And I think it's the same thing for business. Like if I never started that first store, I would have never found my passion for business. So I think it really starts with following that gut feeling. And then as you go, you might discover your passion, something you never thought it would be, but you really have to start to ever find it.
What is the biggest mistake people make when they start dropshipping? For everyone listening thinking, you've probably seen many people make this mistake or this series of mistakes. What are they and what should you do instead?
I think the biggest mistake I see is people just trying to figure everything out in advance. So when they come to the program, they want to know what product they're going to sell, what their website's going to look like, what their store name's going to be, what ads they're going to run, what suppliers are going to have all the way till the end. And they won't take action until they've figured that out. So it's like they'll be in the first module in the program asking questions about Google Ads before they've even got to that concept. And I remember I was the same way. Like when you come from a school background or a normal job, you want this certainty in your life. You want to know exactly, I'm going to go to this school, I'm going to get these grades, which is going to allow me to get this job at this firm, I'm going to make this much money, and then I'm going to be able to get this raise and all the way down your life. And I think in entrepreneurship that doesn't exist. You kind of have to, like we were talking about earlier, just start and accept that by starting, the next step will make sense when you get there, and just constantly be evolving and learning. And I think just accepting that is part of business. And that's kind of the joy of it anyway. There's something new every day, a new problem to solve, a new skill to learn. And I think it's one of those things that it's the curse of expertise. The better you get at something, the more you realize you don't know. So I think just accepting that is part of the game.
You can always connect the dots in hindsight, but I think when you're looking forward, it can seem like chaos, but they always connect in hindsight, the dots
100%,
do.
yeah.
Couple rapid fire questions. First question I have is, I have these books or moments in my life, which I call earthquake moments. After I read the book, life just wasn't the same after it. What is an earthquake book or a book you've read where after you read it, life was not the same?
The first book I ever read was called Who Says You Can't You Do by Daniel Chidiak. And I remember I was in school partying too much. This is the first personal development thing I ever consumed. And I remember I just saw it from an Instagram ad. I remember literally clicking the ad to this day. That was the first book I read. And looking back, I don't think the book itself has any groundbreaking material that you couldn't find in many other books, but it was just that one stands out because that was the first thing I ever read. And then other than that, I think another big one recently was reading Russell Brunson's book on the linchpin. It's just like a framework of marketing. I can go into it if you want, but I think the linchpin book is also probably the second biggest earthquake moment that changed things for me.
What was your favorite takeaway from it, or most memorable takeaway?
So it's essentially building the flywheel in a sense. So he has a company, $1 billion company called ClickFunnels. So it's a software where like a landing page builder at a high level. So they were running ads for ClickFunnels and it was doing okay, but they couldn't really scale it. So what he started doing was offering an info educational product on a webinar. So what would happen is you would opt into his webinar to buy his course. And then as soon as you opted into the webinar, it'd say, oh, by the way, I'm going to be showing you how to use this ClickFunnels tool on the webinar. So then he would get free traffic for his software through the education company. So essentially his education company or his software would have a $0 CAC and he could just funnel thousands of people through his educational platform at a profit while building his software. So that's essentially what we're doing with Supplier HQ is we're creating our own TAM. So there's only so many people doing high ticket dropshipping right now. That would be our TAM without the education. So now with the educational company, we can create more customers for our software.
You mentioned before that work and life for you are very intertwined. You're thinking about those problems, and that for some that actually might sound like a tortured existence, but I think for others it's beautiful because it's the thing you want and you can't stop thinking about it, and you put in some progress and you see a result there. What do you do outside of work? Do you have any favorite hobbies outside of that work-life balance?
Fitness for sure. Like traveling, seeing new places. Definitely want to have kids and a bigger family in the next couple of years, but I think now I'm in the season of my life where I'm just kind of all in on business to make as much progress as I there. Because I think as you grow your company, as you have more employees and people working with you, you can't afford to take that step back and have a couple hours a day where you're not just gung-ho on business. But I think as much time as you can afford to spend on that, the quicker progress you'll make. So pretty much all business now. Do like traveling, spending time with friends, but no other crazy hobbies really.
What is the best piece of relationship advice you've ever gotten?
I think you have to listen to your gut feeling in your life first. So for example, if you're pursuing something that you don't think is aligned with what you're supposed to be doing, I think it's probably very unlikely you're going to meet the right person for you. So I think you have to follow your gut and follow your own path. And I think once you do follow and find your own path, your own passion, your own purpose, then that will lead to you finding the correct person for you. But I think you first have to kind of be happy with what you're doing in order to attract the right person for you.
Similarly, what's the best piece of business advice you've gotten or business advice you give to someone out there listening who's about to take the plunge and get started?
Number one is just start and just accept the fact that it's going to be uncertain and just every day make some progress on something. So I think the number one thing I see people fail with is they can't stay consistent. They'll do something for 2 weeks and then stop, or 3 weeks and then stop, or even a couple months and then stop. I think you have to, there's no secret a lot of the time. There's no crazy complex thing that's just going to solve all your business problems. But if you do very simple things and you progress on 3 to 5 things every day for 3 years, I think it's almost impossible to fail. But I've never seen someone actually wake up, make progress on something for a year straight and not see some kind of good result. The only reason people fail is because they stop before that's happened yet.
From the outside in, oftentimes, everything can look very rosy when it comes to a business. You see the landing page, you see the customers, you see the growth, but even from the relatively short time working on Doula, there are many setbacks and very hard moments too. How do you overcome setbacks? And if you're able to share, what was maybe one of the hardest moments so far building these businesses and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I think the number one personal development program you can ever have is starting a business, because I don't think there's business problems. I think there's personal problems that manifest in your business. So to give you an example, if you're disorganized, it might not be a big deal in your business when you're a 1 or 2 person company, but when you're a 50 person company and you're disorganized, it's going to be an absolute disaster. If you're not a leader, you might be fine as your 1 person business as a freelancer or an agency giving services, but if you're not a leader, how do you expect 50 people to follow your lead with the company and grow your company? So all these things that are personal weaknesses manifest themselves in your business. And I think that when you get started, what stresses you out on day 1, you're going to look back on it even in day 30, you're going to laugh at it. But over time, as your business grows, as you're solving bigger problems, making more money, your stress tolerance goes through the roof. And that's ultimately what changes you as a person, because as a leader of a business, as a business owner, you can now handle stress, handle problems that nearly everyone else can't. So I think the problems never really go away. It's not easy, but when people look and they see the money, the life, everything that looks good, I don't think they fathom the stress and the responsibility that goes with that. And I think that if you were to just put most people in that life, there's no way they could handle it. You have to go through those pains, those growing pains over time to become the type of person capable of handling that stress and that responsibility.
In the last couple of days being in Dubai, I think we've gotten sold over 15 times on why we should come to Dubai. The infrastructure, the investment happening here, the business benefits in terms of taxes, the talent that's conglomerating here. What's your case for being in Dubai? Do you think you'll be here long term, or for now it's this season, Dubai's the place to be?
Yeah, so when I first started that first business, it it was the first time in my life I wasn't attached to a place. So when I was in law school, working at a law firm, I had to be in this city. So then when I dropped out, I could work from my laptop anywhere in the world. And Canada's very cold. It's like 7-8 months a year. I really like nice weather. I like being in the sun. I like being outside. So I wanted right away, as soon as I dropped out and I was working from my laptop, I wanted to move somewhere nice. So I started looking at the options. I was considering like Bali. I was considering Mexico, Tulum, and Dubai, of course. So Dubai was kind of the one that stuck out as the first world place where there's like really high-end infrastructure, a nice first class, I would call it, city. And I didn't really know anything about it at the time. So I literally just moved across the world from Toronto to here by myself, didn't know anybody. And the plan wasn't to just stay here forever. I just thought like, I can work from anywhere. I'm just gonna go try it and see how it goes. So came here, absolutely love it. So I think now I've been here for a year and a half. I find it very hard to imagine not being here. People are happy, they're excited. There's a lot of opportunity. It just seems like a really good place to be. It is very hot for like 5 or 6 months a year, too hot to go outside. So I think it'll always be a base, or at least for the considerable future as far as I can see ahead for now. But yeah, I won't spend all 12 months a year here, but it'll always be a base.
Well, in a few years' time, if Dula opens an office here, we'll look back to this moment in time for where the seed was planted.
There we go.
Let's say you could have a billboard on a highway here in Dubai, and the billboard can have any message. What would that message have?
I would say listen to that itch, or listen to your gut feeling, and the rest will figure it out. The rest will figure it out for itself. Listen to your gut, take that first step, and the rest will make sense as you go.
And just start.
Just start.
Love it. Brook, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. This is going to be an awesome combo to share.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Sweet.